SCP-3713. Object Class, Keter. Special Containment Procedures, Dr. Robert Dorrier is to act as a psychotherapist/counselor for SCP-3713 and is to meet with them at least once every month, utilizing audiovisual communication platforms too when necessary. If any anomalous activity is discovered or suspected, Dr. Dorrier is to report the development immediately. Otherwise, sessions are allowed to remain private and unrecorded as per the will of the Ethics Committee. Archived Containment Procedures. Archived containment procedures. During an SCP-3713 event, incoming traffic is to be diverted under the guise of military operations. Should an SCP-3713 event be detected, a team of D-Class personnel equipped with basic audio-visual recording equipment are to be immediately deployed to the location to document the event. Any records of activity are to be removed from all public knowledge. Witnesses and SCP-3713-A instances are to be amnesticized followed standard procedures. All D-Class are to be recovered immediately and the footage captured is to be extensively reviewed. Any records of activity are to be purged from all public knowledge as well as witnesses amnesticized to reduce suspicions. Archived Containment Procedures, TTT. Description: SCP-3713 was a series of reality degradation events originating at 49.90 degrees north, 97.14 degrees west, Winnipeg, Canada, and ending at 18.24 degrees north, 66.04 degrees west, Caguas, Puerto Rico, between November 17, 1898 and August 7, 2015. These events only affected cities legally recognized by the U.S. government and extended roughly 1 kilometer outside of the city's legal boundaries. Only a single city would be affected at a time. When an SCP-3713 event occurred, the population, defined as SCP-3713-A, began to behave as though they were members of a cast in a musical production, with the set and setting equivalent to the real-life locality. The plot of each SCP-3713 event changed between instances but tended to be roughly determined by events already set in motion before the occurrence of said event. For example, a major plot point during event SCP-3713-13 was the cancellation of an annual Christmas parade, which had been already planned for several weeks prior. A random group within the city, ranging from 4 to 6 individuals, defined as SCP-3713-A', would be the focus of some sort of plot, often accompanied by a supporting cast consisting of an additional 5 to 10 individuals. Any new objects or people entering the area of effect would slowly become subject to the anomaly's effects and be converted into a prop or actor. For objects this effect was almost instantaneous, while for people this process could take anywhere from 5 minutes to 6 hours, depending on the person's proximity to SCP-3713-A'. This effect was stronger the more SCP-3713-A' individuals were gathered in one place. Following the conclusion of the event, roughly 99% of objects and all affected individuals would revert to normal. SCP-3713 events would follow a vague prologue, Act I, intermission, Act II pattern, with a possible second intermission and Act III. The prologue was designated as the time in which SCP-3713's effects first show, beginning with the conversion of many objects into props, exact specifications difficult to measure and thus uncertain. Most members of SCP-3713-A would begin to lose intricacies of emotional expression and social interaction. Intermissions would be noted by all members of SCP-3713-A returning to their home, when applicable, and having between 0 and 18 members disappear and reappear at the beginning of the next act. After all acts are done, all members of SCP-3713-A would gather at the edge of SCP-3713's area of effect and bow. As soon as bows were finished, SCP-3713's effects would disappear. Members of SCP-3713-A would return to their homes and resume normal behaviors and routines the next day. Due to an as of yet unidentified antimimetic effect, all SCP-3713-A members would find nothing odd about the SCP-3713 event unless interrogated. SCP-3713-A were considered mundane once more after amnesticization. Addendum 3713-1 Abridged list of recorded SCP-3713 events 3, SCP-3713 events, SCP-3713 events, event, location and date, plot, notes, SCP-3713-7, Hortonville, Wisconsin 06/19/1937, the first musical piece, identifying the main member of SCP-3713 A prime, centered around a small boy being raised by his grandparents lamenting on how they abuse him. Shortly afterwards, he found a group of small, less than 8 centimeters tall, humanoids which call themselves the House. The boy became emperor of the house, and used them to kill his grandparents. A role reversal occurred, wherein the boy became mad with power and attempted to take over as mayor of the city. The event climaxed when the House fought back against him and reclaimed their independence. The House have since been contained and classified as SCP-3713-11, Gallipolis, Ohio 04/04/1963, SCP breached containment, incapacitating and wounding several researchers. The protagonists, MTF Lambda 14, the extras, attempted to survive and recontain the anomaly. It was revealed that the site director had released SCP in an effort of world domination. The MTF unit uncovered more clues about SCP and the site director, allowing them to set up a trap for them both. The event climaxed in a musical number, titled Why Do We Even Try, sung by SCP, the site director, and all of the agents, after which the MTF unit successfully recontained SCP and detained the site director. Several SCPs were neutralized following the event, as they had been converted into plastic replicas and did not revert back to their anomalous form. SCP was successfully recontained. SCP-3713-16, Brickhaven, North Carolina 09/28/1995, instance began with a musical number involving a bank heist. The police investigated the crime, and eventually one ended up undercover in a drug ring for. The story soon refocused to include D590300, sent in with recording equipment. The citizens began to question D590300's origins. Once she told them in song, titled We Stay in the Dark, So You May Live in the Light, they began to hail her as their savior and created a cult. D590300 attempted to get people to stop worshipping her, eventually teaming up with the drug ring to hide herself from the public. When the cult worshipping continued despite her absence, the undercover cop confronted the cult and attempted to convince them by a song, titled No One Wants the D. The plot ended with all cult members burning their robes and returning to normal city life, and the drug ring returning the stolen money due to taking a liking to the undercover cop character. Containment procedures remain unchanged. A vote by Level 4/3713 personnel concluded at 19-10 in favor of maintaining current procedures. Amnestics successfully administrated. SCP-3713-18, Caguas, Puerto Rico 07/26/2015. The event began with the announcement of a particularly extravagant school play. SCP-3713 A prime was comprised of several friends who were going to audition but met many problems in the process. Every member of SCP-3713 A prime overcame various obstacles preventing them from auditioning, except for two of them, Camila Marquez and Eric Pantaleo. It was revealed in a musical number that these two members of SCP-3713 A prime were in love with each other but didn't know it, and wished not to be in the play because of the presence of one another. By collaborating with the secondary cast, both Camila and Eric were led downtown, where a musical number involving a large number of SCP-3713-A was performed by all members of SCP-3713 A prime except Camila. Eric was ultimately too scared to profess his love and it resulted in failure. However, Camila and Eric decided to participate in the play regardless. Act 3 involved the play being put on, where Eric ultimately confessed his love for Camila in the final act of the play. This was the first and only event where an individual was recorded deviating from the normal behavior. See Addendum 3713-2 for further details. SCP-3713 events. Addendum 3713-2 further details on event SCP-3713-18. Despite being a part of SCP-3713 a prime, Camila Marquez aka .3713 never sang throughout the entirety of the SCP-3713 event and in several parts deviated significantly from what would have been the presumed storyline of SCP-3713. Although initially calm during the events, presumably thinking that her friends were playing a prank or practicing during the first musical events, .3713 expressed fear and confusion in many of the events following these, especially musical events which involved large amounts of people. During the bulk of SCP-3713-18, members of SCP-3713-A ignored her behaviors and continued as if she were acting normally. .3713 expressed intense confusion at the end of Act 3, where she was surrounded by singing members of SCP-3713-A, and then forced to follow the crowd prior to the ending of Act 3. .3713 broke from the crowd of SCP-3713-A and ran south from Caguas towards Guayama. As .3713 approached the boundary of SCP-3713-18, the area of effect began to expand about 1 kilometer ahead of her. Upon reaching Guayama, .3713 was met with a crowd of over 1,000 SCP-3713-A instances. All instances were singing a song, the main chorus line being "Someone is slacking 5." .3713 was picked up by the crowd, but escaped by breaking a window and climbing through it. After reaching the top of the 3-story building, .3713 held their position for roughly an hour before SCP-3713 members began to climb onto the roof through the ventilation systems. .3713 was forced to back towards the edge of the building, at which point she turned around and jumped. Just before hitting the ground, .3713 disappeared. 3 hours after the disappearance, all effects of SCP-3713 ceased. Members of SCP-3713-A in Caguas were dehydrated and malnourished due to standing in one place for roughly 72 hours. 18 lives were lost to various car crashes or bleeding out due to .3713's escape efforts. A mass amnesticization and disinformation campaign was soon underway, and medical attention was given to injured individuals. .3713 reappeared on the street, unconscious but alive, with several bruises on her head and large gashes of unknown origin on both her forearms. .3713 was immediately taken under intensive care. After 2 weeks of recovery, .3713 was returned to society and was assigned to a Foundation therapist. .3713 has since shown cinematophobia, theatrophobia, heliophobia, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is often triggered in tandem with the previous 3 fears, and a highly increased interest in photography and cinematography, despite her fear of it. For the sake of .3713's mental health, her mother, Cecilia Marquez, has been made somewhat aware of the events that transpired and the consequences of sharing information. No SCP-3713 events have occurred since, as of the time of writing, last updated, August 9, 2024. Addendum 3713-3 recovered information from .3713 during intensive care. After 1 week of recovery, .3713 was able to speak. A recorded interview was conducted immediately after, which is transcribed below. Interview/.3713, interview/.3713, interviewer, Dr. Robert Dorrier, interviewee, .3713, Camila Marquez, conducted, 08/08/2015, notes, .3713 lies in a hospital bed in the middle of the room, with a chair to her right and the door to her left. Interview was conducted in Spanish, and translated to English for ease of reading. 6. Begin log, Dr. Dorrier enters slowly, carrying with them a clipboard with paper and a pencil. Dr. Dorrier, hello, Camila, I am Dr. Dorrier, but you can call me Robert. I am here to ask you some questions about your experiences from the past few days. Is that alright with you? Poi-3713 stares at Dr. Dorier but does not respond. Dr. Dorier, we can go as slow as you would like, and you don't have to get it all out today. Pause. However much is comfortable for you. Is that alright? Pause. May I sit down? Poi-3713 stares at Dr. Dorier but otherwise remains unresponsive. Seeing no response, Dr. Dorier sits down next to Poi-3713's bed. Dr. Dorier, we're just trying to understand what's going on. It's been very confusing for all of us. Any help you could give us would help us all in the end. Poi-3713 continues to stare at Dr. Dorier. After 15 seconds of no response, Dr. Dorier notes the behavior on their clipboard. Poi-3713, you're not singing, Dr. Dorier. No one will be singing. The singing is over, nobody is acting anymore. Poi-3713 turns to look at the door, and mouths the English word exit. Poi-3713, am I out, Dr. Dorier? Yes, you're out. You're out for good, you're safe here. Poi-3713 turns to face Dr. Dorier again. Poi-3713, is there an outside, Dr. Dorier? If you go through that door, walk down the hall, take a right and a left and then go up the elevator. Yes. You can see sun and flowers and clouds. Poi-3713, I can, Dr. Dorier, not until you are well, but eventually yes. Things will go back to normal. Poi-3713, it's real. Poi-3713 turns to look at the door again. Dr. Dorier, yes, it's real. Just as real as you or me. I can open it if you want to see. Poi-3713 continues to stare at the door, and mouths the word Buhos Arls in English. As Poi-3713 continues to stare at the door, Dr. Dorier gets up and moves towards it. Upon reaching the door, they slowly open it. Poi-3713 continues to stare, but is otherwise unresponsive. Dr. Dorier, does this prove it? Poi-3713 nods. Dr. Dorier closes the door and returns to their seat. Dr. Dorier, how are you feeling? Poi-3713 does not look away from the door. Scared, Dr. Dorier, you're completely safe here, we make sure of it. There is nothing to be afraid of. Poi-3713, I'm being watched, Dr. Dorier, who's watching you? Poi-3713 turns around to face Dr. Dorier, and drops to a whisper. The audience, Dr. Dorier, how are they watching? Poi-3713 does not respond, but continues to look at Dr. Dorier. Dr. Dorier points to the camera in the corner of the room, through which this log was recorded. Poi-3713 shakes their head, and points to each of Dr. Dorier's eyes individually. Dr. Dorier, would you be more comfortable if I wasn't looking at you? Poi-3713 returns to looking at the door. Dr. Dorier, would you like me to come back later? Poi-3713 remains unresponsive. Dr. Dorier takes notes, gets up and then kneels in front of Poi-3713 on the other side of the bed. Poi-3713 looks at Dr. Dorier. Dr. Dorier, I will be back this time tomorrow, is that alright? Pause. If there is anything I can do for you, just ask. Tell the doctors and nurses here to get Robert, or Dr. Dorier, and I'll be by your side as quickly as I can. Pause. We're all here to help you, okay? Poi-3713 does not respond, and returns to staring at the door. Dr. Dorier gets up and leaves the room. End log. Interview / Poi-3713. Further interviews yielded no new information. with POI-3713 continuing their fascination with the door and showing general paranoia. Due to POI-3713's knowledge of SCP-3713 and their unique mental disorders, the Ethics Committee ruled that POI-3713 be returned to society without amnestics and see a Foundation therapist made aware of the situation in full. This arrangement has continued to the time of writing, last updated, August 9, 2024. The following video, named, was recovered from POI-3713's phone. Despite the limitations of the phone, the video was recorded in 3840x2160/120 fps and lasts 18 minutes 20 six while only taking up 3 megabytes of space. Video was taken on July 31st, at 23:48, beginning at the exact moment POI-3713 disappeared for the last time during SCP-3713-18. The video appears to be filmed from multiple points of view with lapses in time. Video discovered in POI-3713's phone. Video discovered in POI-3713's phone. Begin transcription. Midnight. The video begins immediately with the sound of POI-3713 screaming, which goes silent at 24:01. The view is entirely black, though the sound of an air conditioner can be heard. Soft, strained breathing can be made out, 24:18 shuffling can be heard, and the crash of something heavy being knocked over coinciding with POI-3713 whimpering. The sound of the air conditioner continued uninterrupted for another 30 seconds. 24:50 A very dim blue light comes from the left of the screen as a curtain uncovers what appears to be a window. POI-3713's breathing becomes faster. A figure appears in front of the window, though it is unable to be determined whether it is POI-3713 or which side of the window it is on. 24:58 View goes entirely white and audio goes silent for 2 seconds. 1 o'clock View seems to be from POI-3713's perspective. Their hands are shown multiple times, indicating the view to be coming from their view. POI-3713 is running from an unknown pursuer. 3 sets of footsteps can be heard, through what appear to be an unnaturally large backstage. Lighting is dim and comes from an unknown source above, illuminating black curtains that appear to line every side. 1:19 After multiple turns, POI-3713 comes upon a well-lit door marked with a green exit sign at the end of a hallway. POI-3713 rushes towards it and unsuccessfully attempts to open the door. POI-3713 whispers "Por favor, please," repeatedly under their breath before turning around to look at the hallway behind them. A pair of bare feet step into view from around a corner before the feet cuts out. 1:21 View goes entirely white and audio goes silent for 3 seconds. 1:24 Video suddenly resumes from the perspective of a camera focused on a stage. The stage itself is dim. Faint shuffling and whispering can be heard below where the audience would be. No words are able to be made out. This continues for 3 minutes. 4:34 Video cuts to POI-3713's perspective. POI-3713 is running through what appears to be a poorly lit backstage area. The only light is from an unknown source above. They dash behind a stack of boxes and crouch there, clutching their legs. A large number of footsteps can be heard from behind the boxes before being replaced with silence. Only POI-3713's strained breathing can be heard for 3 minutes. 7:50 POI-3713 peeks their head out from the stack and freezes. In the darkness, a figure can be seen staring directly at POI-3713. The figure is wearing a mask of an owl. The figure stares at POI-3713 for approximately 10 seconds before taking a step back and out of view. 8:14 Footsteps to POI-3713's left prompt them to jump out and begin running in the opposite direction. 8:15 View goes white and audio goes silent once more, but the vague impression of a human hand can be seen in the center of the image, slowly moving downwards. 8:38 Once again from POI-3713's perspective, POI-3713 appears to be somewhere pitch black with the exception of a green exit sign. POI-3713 rushes towards it and fumbles for the associated door. Footsteps can be heard behind them. POI-3713 pauses to look behind. 8:42 They turn back to the door and push it open. Stepping past the door, they collapse into an extremely dimly lit grassy clearing. The sun appears to be setting into the trees in the distance. SCP-3713 lays on the ground for approximately 1 minute, feeling the grass and looking at the sun, which appears to have a blue tint. The sky, though black, holds no stars. 9:49 View goes white and audio goes silent. 10:013 Soft knocks can be heard preceding 2 short muffled vocalizations. 10:04 View returns to a shot of a stage with a mumbling audience. 10:10 Audience members are heard shushing one another as the dim stage lights go down and a singular spotlight arises, focusing in the center of the stage. The crowd falls silent. 11:15 The shot resumes from SCP-3713's perspective in the grassy field. The sound of the door opening behind them interrupts their rest and they begin running towards the sun. 14:49 The sun has grown noticeably larger. SCP-3713 pauses to vomit. 14:53 The view returns to the shot from the beginning, where extremely dim blue light is flowing into the otherwise pitch black room through what appears to be a window. The figure at the window is still in place. Above the sound of the air conditioner, faint whimpering can be heard, along with several mumbles of the words "por favor." 14:59 The figure steps away from the window. 1500 hours The view resumes from SCP-3713's perspective, in which they appear to be continuing to run at the sun. The sun appears to be about 3 times its original size. 15:55 At this point, the sun is 9 times its original size and dark areas can be seen behind it. 16:28 SCP-3713 reaches what had been thought to have been the sun, which is revealed to be an abnormally large spotlight. They step behind it to find a large curtain that extends into the sky. Returning to the spotlight, they bang thrice on the glass and yell "Por qué? Why?" before collapsing on the ground and assuming the fetal position. Sobbing can be heard. 16:54 The sound of rustling grass causes SCP-3713 to quickly turn their head. The owl-masked figure from earlier is standing before the spotlight, when the spotlight appears to turn off and the view goes black. Only SCP-3713 screaming can be heard at this point. 16:57 The view returns to the room with the air conditioner sounding only for the sound of glass breaking as a figure appears to break the window. 16:58 The view returns to the camera facing the stage with the spotlight on it. No sound is heard and no movement is visible. 17:22 SCP-3713 limps onto the stage from the wings. Several short murmurs are heard from the audience before SCP-3713 reaches the spotlight and stands in the center of it. SCP-3713 scans over the audience, their breaths deep and shuddering. 18:02 SCP-3713 stumbles slightly before slowly taking a bow, jerking and twitching several times while doing so. 18:05 As SCP-3713 rises from their bow, the audience begins to clap and cheer. Many roses are thrown onto the stage while SCP-3713 holds themselves and twitches. 18:08 SCP-3713 falls to their knees and subsequently collapses to the floor, coughing up bile. The crowd continues to cheer. 18:19 As the crowd continues to clap and cheer and throw roses, a hand approximately 3 times the size of SCP-3713, attached to a proportionately sized arm, reaches down from an unseen origin above and forcefully grabs SCP-3713. 18:21 With the continuing noise of the crowd cheering in the background, the view cuts to a purple slate that says the play has ended. 18:26 The video ends. End transcription. Video discovered in POI. 3713's phone. Addendum 3713-4 Further anomalous activities. On November 2, 2024, SCP-3713 was reported missing by Ms. Marquez. A single Foundation agent was sent to the house to investigate. The transcription below is their interview with Ms. Marquez. Interview/Ms. Marquez. Interview/Ms. Marquez. Interviewer, Agent Miguel. Interviewee, Ms. Marquez. Conducted, 11/03/2024. Notes: interview was conducted in the living room with Ms. Marquez on the couch and Agent Miguel sitting opposite them on a chair. A coffee table separates them, where the audio recorder was placed. Interview was conducted in Spanish and translated to English for ease of reading. Begin log, Agent Miguel, alright, I want you to tell me if Camila ever seemed to want to run away, or if you know of anything that would push her to. Ms. Marquez, pause. No, I don't think so. She was very open with me, even if she didn't know how to explain something. When she was upset she would tell me, which was regrettably often. She didn't want to run away from home. She couldn't have wanted to. Agent Miguel, you can think of no influence that would have driven her away. Ms. Marquez, I thought she was getting more stable. Pause. Agent Miguel, has she ever run away before? Ms. Marquez, yes, when she was very little. Pause. Agent Miguel, what made her do that? Ms. Marquez, sniffles. She was in a school play, in 3rd grade. Pause. She was doing so well, but it came to her solo. She's an amazing singer, even if she doesn't do it too often, voice of an angel, and she just sat there. Everyone was looking at her. She just froze. Ms. Marquez blows her nose. Ms. Marquez, it was more than stage fright. I know it. You can feel these things when you're a mother. She just sat there and stared out at the audience. She didn't move. She didn't talk. She just stood there. The teacher cued her, and she looked down at the teacher. I couldn't help it. I spoke up and called to my daughter. I said, honey, and she ran. She ran out the door and just kept running. Ms. Marquez blows her nose again. Ms. Marquez, we chased her but nobody got her before she was out in the woods, and we couldn't find her. My husband called the police and got them to look for her in the forest, and they found her cut and bruised, and there were red marks around her throat. She looked pale. They told us it had to have been self-harm, but she wouldn't have done that. We just took her home and she slept for 3 days. Agent Miguel, did she tell you what happened? Ms. Marquez, she was more comfortable with her dad at the time, and so he heard it. He said that she would feel comfortable to talk to me in time and that it would be better if she went at her own pace. I wanted to know, but I understood. Before it came time to, Ms. Marquez sniffles, Ms. Marquez, he passed. Joaquin Marquez. He was big and strong, like you. Hard worker. He had lung cancer. Smoked. Pause. I don't know if Camila ever told me why that happened. It never felt right to ask. She became a new person when Joaquin passed. Made her own breakfast, did her homework on time. Walked to the bus. Didn't talk as much. Agent Miguel, did she ever? Ms. Marquez, she had dreams ever since. She sometimes hesitated at the door, and I asked her why she didn't want to go outside, and she told me she didn't want to be watched. The only place she felt privacy was in the home anymore. Recently she only did shopping at night. She said that in the day the sun felt like it was focusing on her. When she was a toddler she would wake up screaming. I would calm her down and she would ask me if I was playing pretend. She thought we weren't her parents, sometimes. Sometimes she didn't think anyone was anyone. Pause. Agent Miguel, and there is nothing you know that might be the cause for her leaving? Ms. Marquez, no. She wouldn't run away. Agent Miguel, any closing statements? Pause. Agent Miguel, we will find your daughter. She's coming back. Ms. Marquez, I know. Pause. Ms. Marquez, there is something you should see. Ms. Marquez is heard getting up and walking upstairs. After 30 seconds, she is heard descending the stairs and sitting back down. Plastic crinkling suggests the exchange of an item. Ms. Marquez, this was in her toilet. I didn't show the police, because you're more important. You know what is wrong with her, even if I don't. Please. Tell me this means something to you. Pause. Several plastic crinkles are heard. Agent Miguel, this means something to us. Thank you, Ms. Marquez. Find her, Miguel. Please find her. End log. Ms. Marquez had passed Agent Miguel a plastic bag containing vomit, blood, both matching SCP-3713's DNA, and 8 flyers damaged by various fluids. All things printed in small text were illegible, but the most legible flyer read, "Returns. The new hit BL, Ram Show, touring now. Touring now. Coming back, ever. Come watch, we will. Get into your positions, auditions now over, interview/Ms. Marquez, footnotes, 1. Pending reclassification. See Addendum 3713-4 for more details, 2. Such as Skype or Discord VoIP, 3. For a full list, consult the current SCP-3713 Overseer, 4. Supposedly secret meetings were kept in relatively easy-to-observe places, and SCP-3713-A instances showed little concern over others hearing their conversations despite their subject matter, 5. The full repeated line was "Someone is slacking, someone is drowning and we're drowning with her." 6. To read the original interview, contact an SCP-3713 research director or any personnel of 4/3713 clearance.